Liam Donovan, a renowned architect in his late 30s, stood gazing out of his penthouse window in bustling Dublin. The October wind, crisp and invigorating, danced through the city, rustling the remaining leaves on the ancient oak trees in St. Stephen's Green. From his elevated perch, the city stretched out, a tapestry of old stone and modern glass. But Liam's eyes held a familiar, distant melancholy. Despite his professional success, a shadow lingered in his soul, much like the Irish mist that often enveloped the city. For 15 years, Liam had been married to Fiona, a woman 7 years his junior, whose spirit had once been as bright and boundless as the Wicklow Mountains. Her laughter was infectious, and her fiery red hair seemed to capture the very essence of an Irish sunset. They had met at a university art exhibition, where Fiona, then a budding artist, was showcasing her vibrant landscape paintings. Liam, captivated by her talent and vivacity, had pursued her relentlessly. Within 8 months, they exchanged vows in a quaint chapel overlooking the wild Atlantic coast, promising a lifetime of shared dreams against the backdrop of crashing waves and dramatic cliffs. Their early years were a whirlwind of passion and creative collaboration. Liam's work often took him across Europe, designing innovative structures, but he always returned with thoughtful tokens for Fiona: a delicate Murano glass sculpture from Venice, a rare antique compass from a flea market in Paris, or simply a smooth, sea-worn pebble from a remote Scottish beach. Fiona, with a fierce dedication, transformed their charming cottage in Dalkey into a vibrant haven. Her garden overflowed with fragrant roses, their petals a riot of crimson and gold, and she built a small, sun-drenched studio where they often painted together, losing themselves in strokes of color and shared silences. These moments, simple yet profound, were the anchor Liam craved when his work pulled him away. But a devastating blow struck 7 years ago. Fiona, then 3 months pregnant, had decided to surprise Liam at Dublin Airport upon his return from a project in Berlin. She wore her favorite teal dress, her heart swelling with anticipation of sharing the news of their impending arrival. On the winding coastal road, a sudden gust of wind caused a lorry to swerve, resulting in a horrific collision with her car. The accident tragically claimed their unborn child and left Fiona with irreparable internal injuries, rendering her unable to conceive. Liam received the news as his flight touched down. He raced to the hospital, his world collapsing, to find Fiona pale and still in her hospital bed. He clutched her hand, his voice thick with tears, swearing to be her unyielding support. From that day on, Liam became Fiona's unwavering pillar. He declined prestigious international projects to remain close, pouring his energy into her recovery and well-being. They embarked on numerous journeys together, from the serene lakes of the Italian Dolomites, where they hiked amidst towering peaks, to the sun-drenched vineyards of Bordeaux, where they sipped wine and watched the evening light bathe the rolling hills. Liam desperately hoped these adventures would heal Fiona's profound grief. Yet, he knew, deep within, that she never truly escaped the shadow of their loss. Her once radiant smile dimmed, and her eyes began to hold an unreachable emptiness that Liam could not bridge. 15 years passed, and Liam's devotion to Fiona remained as strong as ever. However, subtle shifts began to emerge in their dynamic. Dinners that were once alive with lively discussions became hushed affairs. Fiona often sat staring blankly out the window, her gaze fixed on the endless Dublin rain. She grew increasingly irritable over trivial matters, a misplaced sketch pad, a late conference call, or even Liam's accidental spill of coffee. Liam attributed it to the lingering trauma and daily stresses. He tried to compensate, organizing romantic getaways to the cliffs of Moher, or simply holding her hand on their studio porch, reminiscing about their youthful dreams. The facade crumbled on a cold November evening. Liam returned home early from a design meeting, carrying a bouquet of white lilies, Fiona's favorite flowers from their early dating days. He planned a surprise dinner at their favorite French bistro in Temple Bar, where they had celebrated their engagement amidst the warm glow of candlelight in the rich aroma of coq au vin. But, as he stepped inside, an eerie silence enveloped the cottage. Fiona was gone. On her easel, he found an empty frame and a recent bank statement. A significant sum from their joint savings, painstakingly accumulated over years, had been completely withdrawn. The recipient was an unfamiliar account, one unrelated to either of them. Liam's heart seized. He called Fiona, but her phone went straight to voicemail. He sat in the dark, consumed by a whirlwind of questions. Close to midnight, Fiona returned, her eyes red-rimmed, her clothes disheveled, and her expression as unreadable as a stranger's. When Liam confronted her about the money, she didn't deny it. Her voice, trembling yet tinged with resentment, confessed she had withdrawn the funds to invest in an art gallery in Amsterdam for a man named Damien, a curator she had met at a recent exhibition. "You don't understand, Liam," Fiona choked out, tears streaming down her face, but her eyes burning with a bitter fire. "You were always chasing your architectural dreams, leaving me alone in this empty house. I was lost, Liam. Damien saw me, truly saw my art." Fiona's words pierced Liam like 1,000 shards of glass. He stood in stunned silence, unable to comprehend that the woman he had loved for 15 years could utter such cruel accusations. Even more painful was the realization of her betrayal, not just emotionally, but also the financial trust they had meticulously built. He struggled to maintain his composure, but internally, an irreparable fissure had formed. Liam didn't pursue legal action for the lost funds. He asked for only one thing, a divorce, and that Fiona return the Dalkey cottage, the home he had purchased before their marriage, where their most cherished memories, from sun-drenched summer mornings to cozy winter nights by the peat fire, resided. Fiona agreed, her eyes still filled with a cold bitterness as she signed the divorce papers. She packed her personal belongings, taking only her art supplies, and left without a backward glance. Liam stood before the cottage, looking at the vibrant roses in the garden. Now painfully devoid of Fiona's presence, he decided to sell the house. That place, though once a sanctuary, was now only a monument to his pain. With the proceeds from the sale of the cottage, Liam left Ireland, heading to a quiet coastal town in Cornwall, England, a place known for its rugged cliffs, ancient fishing villages, and the invigorating sea air that promised solace. Here, he bought a small, stone-built house overlooking the crashing waves, surrounded by wild heather and gorse. The house was simple, but welcoming, with a large, open fireplace, panoramic windows offering breathtaking sea views, and a small balcony where Liam often sat, sketching in the early mornings, when the mist still clung to the craggy coastline. Liam took an indefinite sabbatical from architecture, choosing to step away from his demanding career to find a new rhythm. He opened a small, independent bookstore in the heart of the village, naming it the Saltwater Page. The store was adorned with reclaimed shipwreck timber shelves he crafted himself, brass lanterns casting a warm, inviting glow, and a small nook serving artisanal teas he sourced from local Cornish growers. The aroma of tea mingled with the scent of aged paper and sea salt, creating a uniquely comforting atmosphere. He spent hours arranging books, from classic maritime tales by Joseph Conrad to poetry collections by Ted Hughes, his favorite poet, whose verses captured the raw beauty of the British coastline. The store quickly became a beloved gathering spot for locals and curious tourists alike, a place where they not only discovered new stories, but also shared their own tales of the sea and village life. Liam's new life in Cornwall was more than a geographical shift. It was a profound journey of spiritual restoration. Every morning, he rose with the dawn, brewed his tea, and walked along the cliff paths behind his house, listening to the rhythmic roar of the waves and the cries of seagulls. The sea shimmered in the morning light, reflecting the dramatic cliffs like a living, breathing canvas. He actively participated in community life, from the weekly farmers' markets, where stalls overflowed with fresh seafood, homemade pasties, and handcrafted pottery, to the lively folk music sessions at the local pub, where the strains of accordions and fiddles filled the cozy space. Slowly, he discovered a profound peace that Dublin, with all its urban complexities, had never offered. Yet, a subtle void persisted, not because of Fiona, but because he hadn't fully opened his heart to new possibilities. One blustery autumn afternoon, as the wind rattled the windows of the saltwater page, a woman entered. Her name was Chloe, a 32-year-old marine biologist with windswept, sandy blonde hair and bright, inquisitive green eyes. Chloe was researching coastal ecosystems for a nature documentary, and Liam's bookstore was a serendipitous stop. She wore a practical navy jumper, a worn leather backpack, and carried a weathered journal where she diligently recorded her observations of the Cornish coast. Her smile was as fresh and invigorating as a sea breeze, full of life and an undeniable sense of purpose. Liam and Chloe quickly fell into an easy conversation. It began with Chloe inquiring about a book on local marine life, and soon branched into discussions about environmental conservation, from the fragility of coral reefs to the mysteries of the deep ocean. Chloe possessed an engaging eloquence, both intelligent and insightful, making Liam genuinely laugh, a sound he hadn't heard from himself in years. She spoke of her underwater expeditions, from diving among vibrant kelp forests off the Scottish Isles to observing rare species in the depths of the Mediterranean. Before leaving, Chloe left a small sketch in his guest book, a delicate drawing of a seashell, with the words, "Thank you for the fascinating dive into words. I'll resurface soon." And she did. Chloe became a frequent visitor to the saltwater page. She often stopped by in the late afternoons, bringing her research notes and sharing intriguing discoveries from her day at sea. Together, they explored the hidden coves and dramatic headlands around the village, where the sea spray kissed their faces and the ancient stone walls whispered tales of old. Liam, for the first time in years, felt his heart stir with a gentle warmth. Chloe was unlike Fiona. She was resilient, intellectually curious, and possessed a quiet strength. She wasn't afraid to reveal her own vulnerabilities, the challenges of working in a male-dominated field, the loneliness of remote research, and Liam, in turn, slowly unburdened himself of his past grief. Their burgeoning love story was woven from simple, shared moments. One crisp autumn morning, Liam invited Chloe for a walk along a secluded coastal path leading to a hidden sea cave. The waves crashed against the rocks, their roar a powerful symphony accompanying the cry of gulls. Liam held Chloe's hand, guiding her over slippery seaweed-covered rocks, and when they stood before the shimmering entrance of the cave, bathed in the ethereal light filtering from above, he spoke of his profound desire, a life of authenticity, where he could truly connect with the natural world and cherish every moment. Chloe smiled, her eyes reflecting the dazzling light, and said, "Liam, I think we're already living that dream." However, their path wasn't entirely without its challenges. One evening, when Liam invited Chloe to his house for dinner, the cozy atmosphere by the crackling fireplace, with the scent of burning driftwood and the comforting sound of the wind, was disrupted by an unexpected call. It was Fiona, who had reached out after nearly a year of silence. Her voice trembled over the phone, confessing her regrets, admitting that Damien had left her after squandering all her money. Fiona tearfully begged Liam for a chance to reconcile. Liam, though no longer in love with Fiona, still felt a pang of old sadness. He didn't want to cause her further pain, but he also knew he couldn't return to someone who had so deeply betrayed his trust. Chloe, unintentionally overhearing the one-sided conversation, mistakenly assumed Liam still harbored feelings for his ex-wife. She quietly slipped out of Liam's house, leaving a note. "I don't want to stand between you and your past." Liam, realizing the grave misunderstanding, rushed to find Chloe. He drove through the winding, moonlit lanes to the small cottage Chloe rented near the harbor. Under the silvery moonlight, light filtering through the clouds, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow on the ground, he knocked on her door and painstakingly explained everything. "Chloe, I released the past a long time ago. I want to build a future, and I want that future to be with you." Chloe, though initially hesitant, was profoundly moved by Liam's sincerity. They embraced under the soft glow of the moon, and that moment solidified the foundation of a deeper, more profound relationship. From then on, they grew closer, exploring every hidden corner of the Cornish coast together, watching sunsets paint the sky in fiery hues, and sharing their deepest dreams for the future. One afternoon, they sat together on a cliff edge, looking down at the turquoise sea stretching endlessly. Chloe leaned her head on Liam's shoulder, and he gently kissed her hair, feeling a peace and completeness he never thought he would discover again. Time drifted like the gentle currents of the Atlantic, carrying the scent of sea salt and wild gorse. Liam and Chloe became an inseparable part of each other's lives, together transforming the saltwater page into the vibrant, cultural heart of the village. The small bookstore was now more than just a place to buy books. It was a beloved community hub where locals and visitors converged. Liam, with renewed passion, organized weekly poetry readings every Thursday evening. Under the warm glow of the lanterns, old fisherman Ben shared his love for seafaring epics, while retired schoolteacher Mrs. Davies passionately recited lyrical verses about the Cornish landscape. Chloe, leveraging her storytelling abilities from her research, not only wrote captivating articles for local tourism magazines, but also managed a dynamic social media presence for the store, posting enchanting photos of seasonally decorated reading nooks, from driftwood and shell arrangements in summer to festive Christmas lights, attracting hundreds of visitors from across the UK. Together, they created a dedicated children's corner in the store, with low, wave-shaped bookshelves, rugs patterned with whimsical sea creatures, and plush cushions. Every Saturday morning, Chloe sat among the children, her engaging voice transporting them to underwater kingdoms of mermaids, brave sailors, and mischievous sea sprites. Liam often stood in the corner, a proud smile gracing his lips as he watched Chloe. These storytelling sessions not only brought immense joy to the children, but also enchanted parents, reminding them of their own childhood fantasies. Liam's life in Cornwall was now a vibrant, complete picture. Every morning, he woke as the first rays of dawn filtered through the curtains, brewed strong coffee in an old enamel pot, the aroma mingling with the crisp sea air. Chloe, still sleepy, wrapped in a thick wool blanket, joined him on the balcony, where they watched the mist slowly lift from the sea. They had cultivated a thriving garden around their cliffside house, with fragrant lavender bushes, vibrant fuchsia, and even a small, sheltered patch where Chloe hoped to grow wild strawberries. In the afternoons, they tended the garden together, Chloe giggling when Liam clumsily pruned a bush, and Liam playfully feigning annoyance, just to earn a reassuring kiss on his cheek. Every evening, by the crackling fireplace, they sat close, sipping local cider, reading books, or simply sharing the day's small wonders. Chloe loved to recount tales of a quirky customer at the store, like the old cartographer who gifted them a hand-drawn map of local shipwrecks, while Liam eagerly shared a new recipe for traditional Cornish pasties he learned from their neighbor. These moments, though seemingly insignificant, were like precious pearls, strung together to form the exquisite necklace of their life. One day, Liam received a letter from Fiona. She wrote that she had settled in Edinburgh, found a fulfilling role teaching art, and wished to return the money she had taken. The letter included a bank transfer slip, but Liam politely declined it in his reply, wishing her well and expressing his hope for her happiness. That act felt like the final, definitive closing of a door to the past, allowing Liam to be completely free to embrace his present. Chloe, knowing the full story, hugged him tightly, whispering, "You are truly the most honorable man I've ever known." Their joy reached new heights when Chloe became pregnant. The house on the cliff buzzed more than ever as they lovingly prepared for parenthood. Liam meticulously built a sturdy wooden cot, sanding every edge with care, while Chloe sewed charming little blankets embroidered with tiny sailboats. When their son, Finn, was born, with bright, curious green eyes and a contented smile, Liam felt his heart swell with an emotion beyond words. He often held Finn in his arms, singing ancient Irish lullabies his mother used to hum, while Chloe sat beside them, her eyes shining with love for her two boys. In the late nights, when Finn fussed, they took turns comforting him, sometimes tired, but always sharing knowing smiles, understanding that this was the truest form of happiness. One autumn evening, as moonlight illuminated the churning sea behind their house, Liam knelt before Chloe, holding a simple silver ring handcrafted by a local silversmith. "Chloe, you brought Light and Finn into my life. I can't promise you the whole world, but I promise to dedicate my entire world to loving and protecting you both." Chloe, tears glistening in her eyes, nodded. They held a simple, intimate wedding on the cliff edge, under a sky ablaze with stars, witnessed by close friends and the sea itself. Chloe, in an elegant ivory dress, her hair adorned with wildflowers, held Liam's hand in his dark suit, exchanging vows as the moonlight painted the sea in shimmering silver, as if nature itself blessed their union. Liam no longer dwelled on Fiona or the painful memories of Dublin. He understood that life generously offer second chances to those brave enough to release the past. Under the vast, star-studded Cornish sky, with Chloe, Finn, and the saltwater page, Liam had found a life brimming with profound contentment. Every morning, he and Chloe walked hand in hand to the balcony, holding Finn, gazing at the expansive, ever-changing sea, knowing they had discovered their true home, not a place, but a sanctuary built within each other's hearts.